Hello, I'm Dan Pearson. This year marks the 50th anniversary of Radiation's move to its new headquarters campus here in Palmdale. The 5 decades since have seen unprecedented change in technological advancement, and our company has played a pivotal role. As Group President of Harris Government Communications Systems Division, I'm honored to have continued this legacy, often reminded that I follow such an impressive line of visionaries who helped steer the business through good times and through setbacks, from right here in this same office, upstairs in Building 2. 15 years ago, on the occasion of Harris' centennial, many key figures in the company's history were interviewed to capture an oral history dating back to Harris' origin in 1895. We've returned to those interviews and recorded a few more to hear in the words of the people who were there the story of Radiation's beginnings and how it would become the technology nerve center of Harris Corp.
Well, George Shaw was in charge of the telemetering equipment for the company I was with in Washington.
We were working together in Alexandria, Virginia, and came here to Melbourne because of the initial launches.
I was the head of the engineering department, and I hired George up there.
Both Homer and I came to the conclusion that there was going to be an enormous amount of telemetry business here at the Cape, and we might as well be close to it.
George had $5,000 and I had $20,000. So we put it together and started this outfit down here.
And they complemented each other very well. George was the technological visionary, the one who was willing to take on any technological challenge. Homer was the very strong strategic thinker about where the business should be going from a practical business sense as well as a technological vision, and who was very, very good at convincing customers that even though we had never done it before, we were the people that he should select to put his future in our hands.
We started with 4 people here in Melbourne in 1950.
At that time, it was all in one building. It was the ex-headquarters building for the Naval Air Station, which preceded the current airport.
I think we were paying $50 a month for the building, but we did have to put a new roof on it.
The reason Radiation was successful, they had managed to put together an unusual group of people early.
We came here, one, because we would be close to the Cape.
We got some small contracts out of Canaveral when we first started.
This was one of the best technical organizations in the country. They had some very, very fine engineers.
We were really stretching the limits of what was practical to do in terms of the performance of the electronics.
We learned that if we put all of our resources on a job, we could compete with the Lockheeds and the Boeings and the Rockwells in a small way.
Small company environment, everybody knew each other, everything was informal.
The guard down in Palm Bay, he passed out paychecks every 2 weeks, and he knew everybody, by appearance and name.
We had a very broad base of technology.
You did whatever had to be done, and you did it without question, whether it was your job or somebody else's job.
Radiation's expertise was in PCM telemetry.
Homer convinced the Boeing company that we were the right choice to develop the pulse code telemetry for the Minuteman program.
Homer and George were involved enough to understand that that was a key requirement for the future of the space program. That technology is the basis for all the computers. That's where the computer industry came from.
We had to get out of the airport facilities and into some substantial facilities. And other people in Palm Bay made us welcome and helped us find the financing. The buildings went up and we were in them, and that's how it happened.
They had 2 buildings in Palm Bay when I went there. The headquarters building and the building just to the east of the headquarters building.
When I first went into the lobby of that facility, I thought, hey, man, this is cool. It really was a sight to behold at that time.
We had a man by the name of Troutman that did our engineering. He knew the company inside and out, and the architect had to put the fountain in the middle of the entrance hall there, and which we had to turn off because the receptionist couldn't stay at her desk and let the fountain run. She had to keep running to the ladies' room frequently as long as the fountain was running.
The fact that we were able to get into the space technology business before anyone else and did a very good job in that respect was largely responsible for the growth of radiation.
Those were very exciting days, very an exciting era when we were all part of this rush to the moon, and Harris had a very key role in that.
I personally was involved in the Mercury program, the Gemini program, the Apollo program, the space shuttle, space lab, and the space station.
The equipment would not have flown, the people would not have flown if Harris had not done an effective job. And I can remember well the astronauts coming through our factories and telling our people how important what it was that we were doing was to their well-being, their survival.
In January of '62, I believe that was when John Glenn made his first suborbital flight, if I'm not mistaken, and we arrived in time for my sons to see that. So.
Of course, being here right at the Cape allowed us to actually witness those launches and to feel a great sense of pride that we were taking part in a national program of this type.
It brings tears to your eyes, literally. Go, go, go.
We built the community really from the inside.
They were real leaders in the community from the day one in that they supported those things that are fundamental to the community now.
The living conditions down here were pretty bad for people moving in because Patrick was expanding so fast.
I don't know how many banks there were, but Homer and George didn't like the banks here, so they had their own bank.
We had a bank here in town that was, well, if there'd been a pawn shop, it would have taken the business away from them, but there wasn't a pawn shop.
Homer and George gave a lot of personal money, and they gave company money to build the first hospital.
The hospital was kind of like a 20-room motel down on Route 1.
They helped start FIT. Every time they'd run out of money at FIT, they'd come to either Homer or George to give a little money, or we'd give them radiation money.
Radiation supported it 100%. Had board members on. I have been a board member constantly since the Florida Institute of Technology was started.
We were approached by Harris Intertype, who did have a very strong interest in building a competence in electronics.
They could see that the printing information market was going to be surrendered to the electronic systems information.
And if we wanted to continue growth at the rate we hoped to, we had better consider ourselves as a manufacturer of equipment for communication, not just printed communication.
And they started an aggressive campaign of acquiring electronic corporations, and one, of course, was radiation.
The good thing was they had the financial stability that would permit us to grow at a faster rate than we otherwise could grow. The bad thing was they were going to rein us in.
Well, one thing we liked about it, they didn't know anything about the business, and we didn't think there'd be any interference, which was a mistake.
It was a well-run company. At that time, Harris Intertype had a reputation of being one of the best managed companies in the world.
And of course, the red radiation was a badge of honor around there, and I said we're going to change away from the radiation division to Harris Electronic Systems Division with a blue H. I really stirred up a hornet's nest with that one.
By 1978, there were something like, 6,000 employees in Melbourne and something like 1,200 or 800 in Cleveland. So it became clear that really the center of gravity had shifted.
I thought that if we're going to be an electronics company, I wanted to be where the center of gravity of the intellectual community was, if I was going to be CEO. And that was Melbourne, of course.
And all of the activities, the engineering and development activities going on in Melbourne, had become the technical heart of our company.
We already owned the land over here at the airport. I had bought that before the merger for expansion purposes. So we had a place to build a headquarters. This has been, over the years, one of the best technically and the best managed organizations in this business in the country. It's not the biggest, but it's been one of the best. It still is, for what I know.
And I think it takes a commitment and a dedication of a series of management teams respecting the history, the value systems, changing with the times, but not losing the fundamentals, not losing your way, so to speak.
It's all in the people. You know, that's with any organization. It's all in having the right kind of people and pointing them in the right direction.
Selecting the right people, you're training them, you're giving them the tools that they need, you're giving them systems that work, and then they can flourish.
There was a whole team of us who worked together to make this happen, and I'm proud of it. Every time I pass by here, I say, I helped do that.
There's nothing like taking a look back to make us realize just how far we've come. The Harris of 2010 continues to build on a legacy of innovation and creativity. Perhaps more than ever, we're realizing the early vision of Harris, a company that helps meet the need for communication, in whatever form it may take. Is it just me or my age? Or does time seem to go by faster with every passing year? Here's hoping that in another 50 years, Harris will still be a strong leader in whatever markets we serve, and a great place where people look forward to coming to work each and every day.